Welcome into episode 2 of our October club for the reappearance of Rachel Price. I'm very, very excited. We're going to be reading chapters 6 through 10 today. And as always, thank you for joining me. Please no spoilies, but obviously please feel free to be theorizing along with us. And yeah, I'm very, very excited. Chapter 6. Snow on a warm April morning that tasted like early summer. The road sun-dappled, trees in full green bloom. Fake snow. Made of shredded paper, Ramsay told her. Not everywhere. That would have been far too expensive, and they didn't have that kind of budget. But enough to set the scene, to cover the ground around the car. It's the exact same car, Ramsay said, too pleased with himself. A 2007 Honda Accord in royal blue. Belle pretended to be impressed. Well, it couldn't be the exact same car. That one must be in police storage somewhere. But the same in all the ways that mattered. Parked roughly up on the shoulder there in the exact spot it had been found. Matched up to the crime scene photos. In the middle of the small nameless road that led out onto the U.S. Route 2, towards Moose Brook State Park at the other end. It was blocked off for filming. Vans and trucks parked sideways across the entrance and exit. A morning chorus of angry horns. Belle's eyes were stuck, tracing the outline of the car. The same car Rachel was driving that day. The one she disappeared from. The one she left Belle in. Ramsay was watching her. Let me know if this is too weird for you, he said. This is too weird for me. But Ramsay had already been called away by someone. There were 4 more camera crews milling around today. Another camera rig, more microphones, more metal trunks, more voices. One right in her ear now. Hey, Belle, Ash said, the sound of him so out of place in this road that was out of season, out of time. Belle turned away from the snowy scene to face him. A small camera was mounted on his shoulder, the fluffy pad of an external microphone attached on the top. The red recording light blinking. Belle blinked back at it. Rams wanted me to film some behind the scenes, he explained. Fake snow, Belle said. Yeah, that stuff is a nightmare. Been here since 5. Just got to get through the filming and life can go back to normal. Amen. Hey, maybe they weren't so different after all. Actually, forget that. Ash was wearing a white and black candy-striped shirt tucked into green flared pants with bright pink clip-on suspenders. His sleeves were rolled up, revealing one tattooed forearm. See, you came dressed for the winter weather, she said. Always. At least you'll scare the bears away, she said, trying to be as quick as he was. Wait, there's bears in New Hampshire? He swallowed, looking nervously at the trees. Belle laughed, but so did Ash. It was a joke. That was annoying. Now he'd think he was funny. Which he wasn't, by the way. Ash shuffled. Ramsay said you were ill on Thursday. I hope you're feeling better. What are those? She pointed at him. Tattoos. Do they not have those in New Hampshire? Yeah, but what are they? Belle said, studying the designs, tracking up just one arm, pale flesh running like tributaries around a gray picture. They're memories. Family stuff, you know. No, I don't know, she said, pushing him. He held out the arm, camera still rolling. That rose? That's for my sister Rosie. Took the thorns out because she's nice all the time. The lily next to it? That's for my sister. You guessed it, Lily. Guys, I'm in the book. The leaf? A fig leaf for my oldest sister Eve. She's married to Ramsay. I'm the youngest, the baby. That's me, the old campfire. I'm Ash, by the way. Never properly introduced myself. Ash Maddox. The bird above my elbow is my mum, Bridget, but everyone calls her Birdie. Ash twisted his arm, showing her the bare exposed patch by his wrist. Gonna get one for Ramsay, too. He doesn't like the idea of being an old horned sheep. The campfire's the worst one, Belle said, taking a shot, getting him back for the bears. Tell me about it. An amused sniff that meant something more. They're all amazing people. My mum, my sisters, Rams. I'm the only mess up. Have you considered maybe just trying to be normal? A car pulled into the road then, saving Ash from her. They must have moved the truck to let it in. Ramsay, she's here, Ash called, using it as an excuse to walk away from Belle. He hadn't lasted long. She's here. Who is she? Not the horse fricker again, surely. Belle was the only one in the family scheduled to film today, the only one they needed, because she'd been the only one there when Rachel disappeared. The car rolled to a stop 30 feet away, sunlight glaring against the windshield. The passenger's side door opened. Rachel Price stepped out. Belle froze. A cold winter wind that only she could feel, inside and out, as she came undone. It couldn't be. Rachel covered her eyes against the sun, dressed in the same clothes she was wearing when she disappeared. Black jeans and a red long-sleeve top under a large gray quilted coat. The coat she'd left behind in the car. The same age she'd been that final day. "Hi, hello," she said to nobody in particular, in the crisp voice of a New Yorker. "Hi, Jen, welcome back," Ramsey said, jogging over. "Belle, let me introduce you." He caught Belle's elbow, unsticking her and walking her over to Rachel. Not Rachel. The fake Rachel. Belle could see that now, her mind thawing out, dripping cold down the back of her neck. "Thanks for the heads up," she hissed, taking her elbow back from Ramsey, Ash following them with the camera. Ramsey glanced down, eyes kind of concerned. "Yeah, right." "I told you it was a reenactment," he said. "I thought you assumed." They stopped. "Belle, this is Jen, the actress who will be playing the role of your mom today. Jen, this is Belle, Rachel Price's daughter." "Good to meet you," Jen said, gum popping in her mouth, sticking out her hand. Belle didn't take it. She was busy studying the stranger in front of her. The differences were clear, now that she was this close. The color of the eyes, the shape of the chin, no birthmark on the forehead, but for a moment there. "You look like her," Belle said, instead of a greeting. "As do you," Jen replied, as if she didn't dislike this woman enough already. "Not as pretty, though," Belle added as a quick jab. Dang. Chill out, Belle. "Oh, well, your mom was beautiful. I'm sorry about what happened to her," she said, fiddling with a strand of her yellow blonde hair. "I'm obsessed with this case, oh my gosh. I listened to a podcast about it last fall called Wine and Murder or something, and I'm obsessed. Obsessed." She split up the word, holding onto it like a snake. "Yeah, so you said." 3 times. Belle's eyes flickered over to Ramsey. A blink, slow enough for him to read. Fake Snow and fake Rachel's. This gum-popping idiot. He blinked back, almost like he agreed with her. He clapped his hands. "Long day ahead of us. Sooner we get started, the sooner we can wrap up." "Not soon enough." That's the spirit, Belle. Everyone was waiting. Ash stood there beside the car, headphone cushioned around his neck, beckoning Belle into the back seat. Fake Rachel was behind the wheel. "You guys don't actually want me to drive today, right? I don't have a license." Ramsey shook his head from the passenger seat. "Okay," Ash said a little louder this time, gesturing at the back seat again. The window on the other side was rolled down, a camera rig mounted half inside the car to point directly into Belle's face. Another camera set up on the tripod in front of the car, shooting through the windshield. Battery-powered light boxes hemming them in. "Let's get started," Ramsey said out of his open window. "Hop in, Belle." Hop in, like it was that simple. Oh, she'll just hop in all right. Belle took a step towards the back seat, the knot growing in her gut. A fake ball of ice, sharp where it melted. She ducked her head, held her breath, and climbed inside. Ash, hovering too close like he could somehow speed the process along. Belle sat back, hands balled together in her lap, pressing against her stomach, kneading the knot. "You okay?" Ash said, like he was a mind reader now. Belle lashed out at him. He was the closest in range. "Just shut the door," she snapped, flinching when he did. "Done. Okay." She was in the back seat. This wasn't so bad now, was it? No different from the front. Not really. "We shot the full reenactment yesterday." Ramsey turned around to bring Belle into the conversation. "Louise from the crew, her 2-year-old, was playing young you, Belle. Very cute. But while we have the real you today, this is more the interview part of the sequence. I'll ask Belle questions, and Jen, today I don't want you to speak or react in any way, almost like you're not here." Fake Rachel was just a prop, like the paper snow and the undrinkable water. "Why is she here then?" Belle asked. "We're going to interpose the interview with shots from the reenactment. So you go from young Belle to you, sitting in that same seat, talking us through what might be happening, what you're feeling. It's hard shooting a reenactment when you don't actually know what happened. But I thought it was important for Rachel to have a presence in both time zones. Here, even though she's not." Belle had something smart to say to that, but it was too late. Ash was in front of the car, holding the clapperboard in front of the camera. Someone else shouted, "Action!" loud enough that the birds scattered. "How does it feel, Belle?" Ramsey turned to her. "Sitting here, in the same car, on the same road where your mum disappeared, to be reliving this moment." "Did it count as reliving when you couldn't remember the first time?" "Fine," she said. "Bit strange." "Why is it strange?" "Because there was a woman cosplaying her dead mom sitting in front of her. That I'm here, in the same way it happened 16 years ago. I don't remember being here, but I know that I was. Right here in a little blue coat." She was wearing a blue sweater today, like Ramsey asked. The same colors to match. Look how Louise from the crew's cute 2-year-old grows into this haunted young woman. You can tell by the bright blue. I wonder, does being here in the exact same conditions, does it spark anything in your memory? Any images or feelings? Wow, yes. Now that you mention it, I've just suddenly remembered everything and solved the entire case. Can you believe it? What a plot twist. Let her being snarky. She didn't mean to do that. Just that Ramsey was now the closest in range, and it was uncomfortable here, on the back seat. But memory didn't work like that. If it was gone, it was gone, or it had never existed in the first place. If Ramsey needed her to have some big revelation for his film to work, she was going now to disappoint him. Sorry. Never apologize, Ramsey said. I like the real stuff, the unguarded moments. Unguarded? She was as guarded as they came, mate. Layers of iron and steel between her skin. Maybe it's better to start with the little that we do know, Ramsey said, diffusing. Tell us how you were found. I know you don't remember, but what you've learned since. This is all I know from Julian Tripp's testimony. I was found here in the back seat, she said, so tense that she wasn't truly sitting against it, stopping herself from sinking in, a hot ache in her lower back. It was freezing outside, snowing. The real stuff, not paper. But the car engine had been left on, so the heaters were still running, and the headlights were on. Mr. Tripp was driving the other way from Route 2. He spotted the lights, saw that the car had veered off onto the shoulder, half on the road. So we pulled up to investigate, see if anyone needed help. Belle glanced out the window, as she might have done 16 years ago, through smaller eyes. Had she been scared at the time, sitting in the dark here, all alone? Did she know what scared was? He came up to the window. It was dark inside, but he had a flashlight. He saw me here in the back seat. He told police that he had called out a few times. Hello? Is anyone here? When he got no answer, he opened the door to see if I was okay. And were you? Ramsey asked, even though he already had all the answers. I was fine, he told police. I didn't seem distressed, like maybe I hadn't been left that long. The heaters were on, so I wasn't cold at all. I was fine, not crying. He said I was babbling words and sounds, nonsensical, trying to talk to him. He'd met me before, but he didn't recognize me right away. After he checked that I was okay, Mr. Tripp called the police. This was all just after 6 o'clock that evening. He sat with me to keep us warm while we waited for the police to turn up. He gave me a juice box that he found in the footwell. He saw Rachel's coat and purse there in the passenger seat where you are now. Ramsey was quiet. A reverential silence from the front seat, which was dumb because this wasn't even the same car. Rachel had never been there. It was cold that evening, freezing even. Ramsey studied his phone screen. 23 degrees Fahrenheit, or -5 Celsius, already at 6 o'clock. That's cold, Belle agreed. Not easy for someone to survive out there with just a thin red top without their coat, Ramsey said, running his hand over said coat. Not the real one. The police had that one too. No, it wouldn't be easy, Belle said, unless he'd planned it. But she might not have been out in the elements for long, Ramsey continued. Police brought in a K9 unit for the following morning, sniffer dogs who'd followed Rachel's scent from the abandoned car. The tractor sent 30 yards up the road that way, he pointed out the windshield, where they lost the trail, in the middle of the road. They might have been down to the snowy, windy conditions, and that doesn't mean that Rachel didn't walk into the trees. But police initially thought this indicated that Rachel got into another vehicle there, and that's where the trail suddenly ends, whether by her own will or not. Wouldn't you need your coat if you're getting into another car? Belle said, putting an end to that thread of discussion, cutting it off like Rachel's trail, vanished in the wind. You've touched on something that many other online theorists obsess over. The fact that the engine was left on, and the heaters too. If someone did abduct Rachel from the car, people theorize that they left the engine on and shut all the doors on purpose, keeping you safe. So you wouldn't freeze to death, Belle. People think this possible abductor could have been someone known to you, someone who cared about you and didn't want harm to come to you. That had been one of the prosecutor's theoretical arguments against her dad, scrabbling at straws for their weakest case. Belle shrugged. I didn't think so, she said. If someone did take Rachel from the car, the engine was probably already running, and if they shut the doors, maybe it's because killing a 2-year-old would have gone against their moral code. Or maybe they thought the crime scene would be more inconspicuous with the door shut. Or maybe it was Rachel herself who did that, who left me here, whether it was meant to be a few minutes or longer. All well plausible, Rachel walking away from the car, walking away from her life, leaving Belle behind. but she didn't want her daughter to actually die in the process. Mother of the Year right there. On the topic of public opinion, of the enduring obsession of this mysterious and solvable case, Tisha talked to fake Rachel there. She'd listened to one podcast and she was obsessed. Do you mind if I talk to you about Philip Alves? Well, he'd already asked, permission or not. That's fine, Belle cleared her throat. Philip Alves, a plumber from Boston who was 37 at the time of Rachel's disappearance, became fixated on this case when it first hit the news cycle, an obsession that only grew as time passed without answers. He traveled to Gorham, convinced he was the one destined to solve this case, to find Rachel Price. Police suspect he'd been watching your house, going through your trash, taking pictures. Can you tell us what he did to your Uncle Jeff and Aunt Sherry back then? It was the early days, she said, before my dad's arrest. The police were around a lot, as you can imagine, wanting to talk to everyone. Philip Alves dressed up as a police officer and went to interview Jeff and Sherry, asking questions about Rachel and our family. They didn't realize he was an imposter. They only found out when they told Police Chief Dave Winter about this interview, but police couldn't find him. It's believed that Philip made regular trips to Gorham, Ramsey said, over the following months and years to stalk your family, to search for Rachel, growing more unstable. His wife left him, lost his job because he spent all day researching, reading the message boards. His obsession reached another boiling point in October 2014. Can you tell us about that incident? Belle actually cut this time, from her own memories, from her statements to police. I was 8 years old, in elementary school. It was a Thursday, and I was waiting for my dad to pick me up from school. But this police officer turns up instead, tells my teacher he's supposed to collect me. She believes him because of the uniform and the badge. So I go with him. He takes me to his car, tells me to climb into the back seat and puts my seatbelt on. I did, but he wasn't a police officer. It was Philip Alves. He kidnapped you, Ramsey said, voice breathy in the shape of a gasp, like he didn't know exactly how the story ended. Besides, Belle didn't like using that word. It was so dramatic. He didn't really take me anywhere, and I didn't disappear for long. He drove a couple blocks away, parked, then turned around to talk to me, kind of like you are now. Ramsey didn't like that comparison, she could tell, and Belle didn't like being back here, in the back seat again. What did he want to talk about? He wanted to ask me questions. Well, he was kind of screaming from the start, sweating, angry. Tell me what you saw that day, Belle whisper yelled in the voice of Philip Alves. You saw who took Rachel. Tell me who it is. You have to remember something. You were right there. I need to know what you saw. She stopped. It was hurting her throat. Was that terrifying for you? Ramsey asked. 8 years old in a stranger's car and he's screaming in your face, demanding answers you didn't have. Belle had been old enough to know fear then, but she was even older now, and knew it was better to keep that to herself. I just kept saying, I don't know. The teacher called the police right after letting me go, realizing her mistake. Dave Winter, chief of police, he's the one who found me, got me out of the car. I was only gone about 7-8 minutes. Philip was arrested, and they realized he was the same man who'd interviewed Jerry and Sherry. That he'd been stalking us for years. Police, of course, looked into Philip in connection with Rachel's disappearance, but found no evidence in his involvement. Ramsey said, rounding off the story for her. Philip pled guilty to charges of stalking, kidnapping, and impersonating a police officer, and served 3 years in state prison. He was released 6 years ago, but upon his release, your whole family filed a restraining order against him. Is that right? Yep, he's not allowed anywhere near us. Ramsey cleared his throat. We've actually been trying to contact Philip to see if he'll talk to us for the documentary. If we find him and he agrees to an interview, is there any message you would want to pass along? Belle thought about that for a moment. Now she was 10 years older and 10 years meaner. Frick you, I guess. Why do you think you deserve the truth more than anyone else? Ramsey looked pleased with that answer. Good, he said. That's really good, Belle. Okay, I think we should stop for lunch. Lunch was a sad, wilted sandwich and a bag of chips. Belle ate hers silently, watching Ash and James fiddle with the camera rig in the car window. Ash being pointed around here and there, go get this, go get that. Fake Rachel was standing close by, facing the other way. She hadn't eaten because she was off carbs, apparently, and had an audition next week. Made sure everyone knew that. I've not done a documentary before, Jen said to one of the crew. Louise, Belle gathered, the mother of Lil Fake Belle. No? What do you think of this case? Mind-boggling, huh? Louise asked her, checking quickly side to side, making sure they weren't being overheard. Surprise. Belle was standing right here, 20 feet behind them. Should have checked harder. Isn't it? Jen said. Like, how did they disappear in the mall? Just vanish into thin air? And then your kid turns up here alone? The kid didn't know either. Just crazy, Louise agreed. What do you think happened? Honestly, Jen said, her abrasive voice dipping into whispers, not any quieter. I think it's pretty obvious what happened. Obvious, huh? Please, do share. It was the husband. The knot outgrew Belle's gut all at once, winding up her spine, python strong. He must have killed Rachel. That makes the most sense. I guess it's always the husband, Louise said, half committed to it. I feel bad for the daughter, honestly, Jen continued. What a sad, messed up life. Belle's fist closed around the chip packet, squeezing it to death. How dare she? Give Belle 2 minutes alone with her, and then she'd have a sad, messed up face. Best of luck with the audition. Belle threw the balled up packet towards fake Rachel's head. Hey! It made contact. 10 points. But Belle was already moving past them, shoes angry and fast against the dirt road. She didn't look back. Was that what they all thought, the crew? The extra ones today and the original 4? The ones Belle was starting to trust? Ash? Ramsey? Maybe Belle had never been in control of the story. Just a prop, repositioned where they wanted her. The knot grew inside, pulling harder, so Belle walked faster, almost a run. Beyond the replica car, footprints in the fake snow, towards the thick canvas of trees. They swallowed her whole, welcoming her into their shadows, vanishing her. Belle? Well, not quite. Oi! A voice followed her into the trees. Ash. Oi! Belle repeated, picking up her face. Don't oi me! What even is that? Where are you going? He struggled to keep up, the hem of his pants snagging on the forest floor. I'm storming off, she spat. Oh, right, he said. Could you do that a bit later? We've got a few more scenes to shoot. Belle turned back, wildfire in her eyes, a growl in her throat. Frick off, Harry Styles. So he did. Ooh. That's chapter 6. That's a whole chapter of nope. So I guess that's a secondary reason why Belle does not like to be in the back of a car. 1, that's where her mom left her. 2, that's where a dude kidnapped her. And I guess the reasons will just continue to pile up. Because genuinely, why would they make her relive that? Low-key. Also, like, did her dad take her to therapy? I know she was a baby when this happened, but I feel like he should have taken her to therapy. That's crazy. Also, genuinely, if she was, like, right behind them, like, what were they doing? Were they just, like... Okay, so this is what I think. Like, did they not look in front of them or behind them? Like, that's so crazy. Dude, I feel bad for her. I really, really do. I wish the dad would have talked to her about it, because she's old enough for him to be like, hey, honey, we're having money issues. Do you mind dissecting this one more time? So I feel bad for her. It's just a huge issue in her life, which obviously I understand, but they keep making her relive it, and I think that's what makes me feel bad the most about her. Or for her, I guess. Also, just because a cop is there, they can't go without an adult. No, literally, like, why did that teacher just be like, oh, the police is here for the child? That's fine. Like, I'm pretty sure schools, like, have to have, like, a list of adults that can pick you up from school. Because that's... I know. At least call her dad first to be like, hey, someone here is picking up your child. Is that okay? I feel bad for Belle. I do feel like maybe she's doing a little bit too much, but at the same time, like, she was like a year old, 2 years old when this happened, and she's 18, and they won't leave this alone. Like, she must have so much pent up anger and just everything, you know? So, like, it's very justified, I feel. Chapter 7. Belle ran. The trees kept her secret, beckoning her through, small pathways opening up, closing when she pushed through. Had they once done the same for Rachel Price? Snow heavy and winter dark. The highway was close, cars shushing as they rushed past, keeping Belle quiet. heart thudding against her ribs, giving life to the knot in her gut. Stupid. They should have never signed up for this documentary. Never let strangers in with cameras to poke around in her sad, messed up life. It didn't feel sad and messed up, but that was all anyone would see. The trees parted eventually, giving way to a small residential road that looped around to rejoin the highway. Belle could call her dad and get him to pick her up here. He was at work, but he wouldn't mind. But the knot was still too strong, and she didn't want to have that phone call now. Didn't want to explain why she'd walked away from the filming. Dad didn't deserve that, and Belle wanted to find the right words first. Kinder words, like he'd taught her. Because nothing inside her felt kind right now. She could walk home from here. Did it count as storming off when it would take the best part of an hour to get where she was going? Walk home, calm down, call Dad. A 3-step plan that Belle could follow, just one foot in front of the other. She walked alongside the highway, nerves spiking when a dirty-minded trucker honked at her, rattling the world beneath her. She was trying to calm down. Frick you very much, sir. Stepping along the midday shadows of the power lines above, like a grounded tightrope walker, an ATV grumbled by too close, a star-spangled banner snapping in the wind. By the time Belle turned past the Circle K on Main Street, there was a warm patch on the back of one heel, the beginnings of a blister. Still a ways to go. Counting cars and losing track. Counting clouds, but they outpaced her, leaving her behind. When McDonald's appeared ahead, she knew she was almost home. Those golden arches, guiding the way. She turned right after the dollar store, down Church Street, towards the railway tracks, where she and Carter used to play dares. They got in trouble for that, too. Belle pressed her toe against the metal lip of the track as she crossed over. She could never just walk between, always had to touch them. An unspoken rule. She glanced up. The cemetery was right ahead, and then home. She wasn't alone. A woman had just crossed over the tracks in front of her, on the other side of the road, walking slowly. Not even walking, really, shuffling. Feet dragging against the concrete and shoes too big, soles falling apart, flapping like fish mouths out of the water. A horrible grating sound as she stepped, a heavy limp on one side like she'd been walking a lot longer than Belle had. Then Belle registered her clothes. A long-sleeved red top, black jeans, golden blonde hair hacked short. Fake Rachel. How had she gotten here before Belle? Taking your role a little serious, aren't you? Belle called to her. It's not like you're going to win an Oscar or anything. Belle drew closer, the road still between them, which was lucky for fake Rachel because Belle's anger still hadn't cooled down all the way. Closer still, and Belle noticed something strange. The bright red top wasn't bright anymore. Faded, dirty, patches of brown and dusted white. It was pocketed with holes, tiny islands of flesh in a red sea, ripped at the bottom, one sleeve half torn away. The black jeans looked familiar, too. The black jeans looked faded, too, murky gray, a slit down the back of one thigh, threads clinging across the rift. Belle narrowed her eyes. What happened? Did you fall in a sewer on the way here? But how had her hair changed, too, in the last hour? Slightly darker, roughly cut by the neck, matted and thick with grime. What? But there wasn't an end to Belle's question. She drew alongside the woman, watching her, matching her slow, shambling steps. Who are you? Belle called across the road. The woman stopped, slowly turning towards Belle, blinking away the sun. She didn't need to answer. Belle knew who she was. Knew bone deep, innate somehow. Something that couldn't be learned. Only known, only felt. Her heart danced itself off a cliff edge into the rolling acid of her gut. The blue-gray eyes that matched her own, delicate pointed chin, ashen skin that was paler than she'd known it, more lined, 16 years of wear, the small tan birthmark on the top of her forehead. The woman stared back at her, like she knew something too. She was Rachel Price. Reappeared. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's chapter 7. What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? I also have so many questions. Maybe, just maybe, all of our questions will be answered. Maybe. I hope at least. Chapter 8. Belle couldn't breathe, but Rachel did. Raggedy and hard, wincing from the daylight, from the pressure on her feet, holding her body at a strange twisted angle. It must have hurt, coming back from the dead. Rachel held one pale hand up to shield herself from the sun, her fingers giving her away, shaking and weak. She studied Belle across the road, swaying reed soft in the breeze, like she might blow away, disappear again. Real, definitely real, but impermanent somehow. Her eyes narrowed, then widened, a hard blank like she was taking a picture with her gaze, recognizing something within Belle. She stepped forward into the road, a croak as she tried to talk, raw and inhumane. A voice from another world, where the lost things went. They weren't meant to come back. The sound shook Belle, brought air back to her in a panicked gasp, brought her heart back, fight or flight fast against her ribs, drowning out her ears. Her feet moved before she could tell them to, terror taking over, protecting her. Belle ran. She ran away. Shoes slapping the concrete, racing her unchained heart, leaving Rachel behind. Past the cemetery. Turned left. She looked over her shoulder, searching, like you weren't supposed to, in nightmares or in hell. Rachel Price wasn't following her. Gone again. But Belle didn't slow down, flying up the sidewalk, fumbling for the keys in the front pocket of her jeans, a slick of sweat across her lip. She veered off, jumping clean over her dad's flower bed and up the stairs to the front door. She missed the lock, gouging a scratch in the green-painted wood. Got it the second time, twisting the key and falling through the open doorway. Belle grabbed the door and slammed it shut, checking, double-checking, separating herself from the new world out there. She dropped to the floor, sitting back against the door, holding it in place, hiding, hugging her knees. This couldn't be happening. Couldn't be. And yet it was. That was Rachel Price on the road. There was no doubt. None. If Belle tried hard enough, could she find some? She'd give anything for some doubt. She was seeing things. The idea of Rachel implanted in her head by the reenactment? No. Could this be a scene Ramsay forgot to tell her about? Don't be stupid. There were no cameras. And how could an actress have stolen Rachel's exact face, a nose that crinkled in just the same way as Belle's? The truth didn't make sense, but it was the only thing that did. Rachel Price was back, and Belle had lost her mind. She'd have to find it again soon, because she had to do something, right? She couldn't just sit here against the door and wish this all away, could she? She darn well could if she wanted to. Rachel had gone away once before, for Belle's whole life. Maybe she'd go away again if Belle stayed right here, didn't move, and hardly breathed. Allowed Mystery to step in again and take Rachel back. Mystery from K-pop Demon Hunters? Just kidding. Sorry. Do something or do nothing. That was the choice. And which was the way that would hurt less? Nothing. That was what Belle wanted. Sit here and wish life back to the way it was 5 minutes ago. Belle and her dad, and a universe that spun around them. People might think it was sad and messed up, but it was hers. It was what she knew, and she was happy. She was. But then she thought of her dad. Really thought of him. That was what all her choices came down to in the end. How to make him happy. He deserved it, after everything. He did the same for her. Their forever team of two. Which way would Dad choose? Belle pictured him, fiddling his wedding ring back and forth in endless loop. Unshed tears in his eyes. His words when Ramsay asked hypothetically what he would do if Rachel ever came back. Not hypothetical anymore. I would just want to hold her, her dad had said. Belle remembered that. Wrap my arms around her and tell her just how much I love her. How much I've missed her. Before any questions, those can come later. He'd had dreams about it. Dreams, not nightmares. And he must have had plenty of the latter. A hard life, haunted by the terrible knowledge that people still thought of him as a killer. And yet there it was. The proof of his innocence, stumbling around outside. Indisputable proof at last. Dad did not kill Rachel. Rachel made Dad happy. She lit up rooms for him. Rachel would make him happy again, make life better for him. And Belle wanted that. So she chose. She was going to do something. Go back outside, find Rachel, bring her home. Belle got to her feet, knees cracking, and a knock sounded against the front door. 3 taps, knuckle to door, bone on wood. Belle's heart spiking with each one. A blurry phantom through the frosted glass, mirroring her. Belle knew. She wasn't ready, but it was time to pretend anyway. She reached forward, fingers wrapping around the lock, cold metal, warm skin. She pulled the door open halfway and finally came face to face with her mother. Long dead, but undead. Rachel Price. Right there, across the threshold, separated by just inches now, Not 16 years, not life and death. Breathing hard and blinking harder. A metallic smell of sweat and something sharper. Rachel shuddered, holding onto the frame to keep her upright, leaving a grimy handprint behind. A door creaked in the back of Rachel's throat, quiet and unsettling. "You live here?" she asked, guttural and raw, a voice that had been used too little or too much. Belle had lost her own. Hiding against the back of her teeth, she nodded. "Are you?" Rachel asked, breaking off, eyes heavy and wet, studying Belle from her hair down to her hands. It was a full question, if you knew. Yes, Belle said, her words crackling too, like she'd forgotten how. "I am. Annabelle," she said in a scratching whisper, and it wasn't a question this time. Like Rachel just needed to say it, to pair the two together. Face and name, unlearning and relearning. Rachel's hand moved from the doorframe, floating in the air towards Belle, reaching for her, to touch, maybe to make sure she was real, imagining each other and getting it wrong. The hand didn't make it and Belle stepped back. She let the door open all the way, inviting Rachel in because she couldn't find the words to. "Dad's not here," Belle said, backing off. Rachel limped over the threshold into the house. Her house. Their house. She looked around, eyes watering. "Looks exactly the same," she said, quietly touching walls and leaving marks. Belle skirted around her, keeping her eyes locked on to shut the front door, closing them in, together. A dark trail from the entrance. Not just mud. Rachel was bleeding through her shoes, onto the wooden floorboards. "New lamp," Rachel said, at the entrance to the living room. "Should I—" Rachel started coughing, a deep down wicked sound that bent her double. "You should sit," Belle said, avoiding her as she passed. "I'll get you some water." Belle ran to the kitchen, hands shaking and clumsy, as she pulled a glass down from the cupboard. She filled it and carried it back out, remembering to shut off the faucet. Fresh blood and mud tracks on the rug, over to Rachel, now sitting slumped on the sofa. "Here." Belle offered the glass. Rachel reached for it, fingers touching Belle's as she wrapped them around. Sharp, overgrown nails. Belle shivered and let go, water slopping over the rim. "Thank you, Anna." Rachel raised the glass to her cracked lips, drinking greedily like a child who'd played too hard too long. She drained the glass and put it down on the table, the thunk making Belle flinch, echoing in her chest. Rachel looked up at her, waiting, like she expected Belle to speak first. Or was she giving her a chance to? Belle didn't know what to say to her, hardly remembered how to talk at all. How was this possible? How was Rachel Price sitting here, in front of her? Ears ringing, heart hummingbird fast, a strange numbness sliding down Belle's back. Was this what shock felt like? "We should probably call someone," Belle said eventually, wondering if that was the right thing. "I can call Dad. He'd be here in minutes." A flicker in Rachel's eyes. Belle didn't know what that meant. This woman was a stranger to her. "I think we're supposed to call the police first," Rachel croaked, not sure what to do either, both of them lost. "That made sense, of course, call the police." Belle nodded. "I can do that. You stay here. You need more water?" "I'm fine," Rachel said, hissing as she pried off the oversized shoes that were stuck to her, falling apart in her hands. Her feet were a mess, swollen, bruised, dirty and bloody. One toenail hanging off the side. Where had she appeared from? How long had it taken her to get home? Why had she come straight here, and not found help first? Rachel saw her looking. "It's not so bad." She gave her a smile that was more like a grimace. "Don't worry." "I'll get help." Rachel backed up into the kitchen, pulling her phone from her pocket. Help for Rachel or help for herself? Wasn't it the same thing? Belle couldn't do this on her own. It was too much. So far beyond too much that her mind was shutting down around her, only able to think 2 seconds ahead and 2 seconds back. She unlocked her phone. 5 missed calls from Ramsey. Oh gosh, was he in for a surprise. He and the rest of the world who, at this exact moment, still thought Rachel Price was gone forever, as disappeared as anyone could be. Only Belle and Rachel knew the truth, but not for long. Rachel wanted her to call the police, and it sounded like the right thing, but it didn't feel like it. What had the Gorham Police Department ever done to help? They'd had 16 years, and they never found Rachel. The police did nothing, spinning the blame on Dad as an easy out. But Dad, he'd know what to do. He was the one who did the worrying, the thinking, the planning, and the helping. And if Belle called the police, then Dad would never get his moment with Rachel, the one he dreamed about. Belle couldn't take that away from him. She deleted 911 from the keypad and dialed her dad's number instead. He picked up on the fourth ring. Hey, just with the customer, he said, his voice like a warm blanket. Safe, familiar, the inverse of Rachel. I'll call you back, and panic rose up, snatching away the warm blanket. No, Dad, you need to get home now. Right now. It's an emergency, Belle whispered, so Rachel couldn't hear. What's going on? He was worried now. Good thing he was the best at it. I can't tell you on the phone. She couldn't. She didn't want Rachel to overhear, and she didn't want to ruin Dad's moment. He'd waited 16 years for it. Just, please, come home right now. Belle, what is it, Dad? Please. I'm coming, he said, and she could already hear the sound of his boots pounding the ground, the slam of a car door. Of course he was coming. She'd asked him to. Can he stay on the phone? No, I can't. Hurry. Are you in danger? He asked. No, Belle answered, though she wasn't entirely sure that was true. Her body didn't believe it, heart hammering down her ribs. It's not like that. Just come, as fast as you can. On my way, kiddo. Anna? Belle spun on her heels, hanging up the phone. Rachel was standing there, a dark silhouette in the doorway, eyes glowing, red footprints on the black and white tiles. I just called the police, Belle said. They're on their way. One small lie, but Rachel didn't know her. She couldn't read Belle like a mom should have. Thank you, Rachel croaked, shuffling forward, pulling out a chair at the kitchen table, falling into it. Belle stepped back against the counter. You don't have to be scared, Annabelle, Rachel said. Clean tear trails through her dirty face. Everything's going to be okay now, I promise. How could Belle tell her everything was already okay? I can't believe I'm home. Rachel blinked in the room, taking it in. Belle with it. New refrigerator. Belle swallowed. I know you must have a lot of questions for me, Anna, Rachel said, steepling her hands together. It's Belle, she said quickly, before she lost a nerve. Sorry? Belle, my name. It's Belle now, not Anna. Hasn't been Anna for a long time. Oh. Rachel stared ahead, far into the middle distance, seeing something Belle couldn't. Maybe only those who had disappeared could. I called you Anna. I've been thinking of you this whole time as Anna. Sorry. Was wondering what you looked like at each age, what you were doing for your birthdays, what you were good at and bad at, whether you'd like the same foods as me, and what made you happy. I had this whole picture of you in my head. That's what kept me going. Rachel shook off that other place, wherever it was. Looked at Belle instead. You're better than I could ever have imagined. I missed you so much, Anna. Sorry. Belle. That's okay, Belle said, which was good, because she didn't have to respond to that other part. If Rachel had truly missed Belle, did that mean she wasn't able to come back until now? Such a mountain of hard questions, and Belle didn't know where to begin. At the start, on that snowy day in February where Rachel disappeared, not once, but twice, filling in where Belle's memory could not. Or today, 16 years later, and those torn up feet. Where? She took a breath, steeled herself, and locked her jaw. Where were you? Rachel nodded, glanced down at her grimy hands, voice just a rasp when she spoke again. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? That's the end of chapter 8, by the way. What do you mean she doesn't know? What? Is she saying, like, I don't know, as in, like, she doesn't know exactly where she was? Or is it like it was really bad, I don't know, I've kind of trauma suppressed it. I don't know. I'm really nervous about the dad seeing the mom again. I mean, hopefully it'll be a good thing, but like we said in the first part, like, him being like, I know I'll never have that chance. I'm scared. Chapter 9. I don't know. Those 3 little words, Belle knew better than most. Both the truth and a blockade, to hide behind when you needed it. But now that she was on the other side of those words, she finally saw why it drove people mad. Mad enough to kidnap a small, scared girl and scream at her in the backseat of your car. What do you mean you don't know? Belle stared at Rachel, doubling down, kicking at the blockade. I don't know where I was, Rachel sniffed, repeating herself, like Belle always had to. I don't know where he kept me. Belle's mind stalled, picking over her words, searching for scraps. He? Who's he? I don't know, Rachel said again. A flash of frustration, warm, pushing against the cold drip of shock. You don't know? Belle asked, unable to hide it from her voice. Rachel shrank. The man who took me, I never knew his name. Couldn't see much of him. How kept me in the dark? Rachel cut across her. Think it was a basement? Can't be sure. Belle paused, thinking that over. The questions peeled off her tongue, dropping to her gut like a dime down a well. No wishes to be found here. All she could find instead was, all this time? Rachel nodded. Like a nod was answer enough for all that horror. And it was all she could give. How long was it? Rachel asked a question of her own now. I tried to keep track of time, but it wasn't always easy. I know roughly, I think, but Belle didn't move, and Rachel studied her, picking over her face for clues. How long? She repeated. 16 years, 2 months. Rachel's breath shuddered, wiping a new tear before it formed. You're 18 now, she said, like that was the saddest part. She'd missed much more than Belle's 18th birthday. Yeah. I'm sorry, Rachel said. Sorry for what? Being taken? For being kept? For everything else? They weren't at sorry yet. There were still too many questions. They hadn't even scratched the surface of each other, claws out and hungry. But there was one answer that meant the most to her, peeking through their scratches. If a man had taken Rachel, kept her in a dark basement all that time, didn't that mean she never really left Belle behind at all? Did it? Didn't it? That would change everything. Belle took one step closer, sliding along the counter. How did you escape? She asked next, wanting to savor that most important question. She wasn't ready for everything to change just yet. Too much already had. I didn't, Rachel sniffed. Never could. I tried so many times, so many ways. Then how are you here? He let me go, she said. Why? I don't know. Those words again. But Belle wasn't angry this time. You couldn't know what you didn't know. No matter how many times people asked, she lived it time and again. What happened? Belle said, shifting to what Rachel could know. Rachel shook her head. You don't have to hear all this, Anna. You don't have to know. I don't want you to. That's not fair. Please? Belle circled, hardening her gaze. Rachel met her eyes. Okay, he came downstairs. I thought it was to bring food, but he didn't have any. He put a bag over my head, like a fabric bag, a tote bag, so I couldn't see, but I could breathe. Then he unbound me. Rachel glanced down one leg to her left ankle. Belle followed her gaze. Red blistered skin and a band of raw flesh. Tape? Belle said, urging her on. No, it was a chain, a cuff. Belle nodded. He'd never taken me out before. I hadn't left since I first got there, but he walked me upstairs. Through a house, maybe? I couldn't see anything. He put me to the back of a car. I asked what was happening, but he wouldn't speak. He never spoke much. And? Belle drew closer. We drove for a couple hours. I tried to count the time, but I was distracted. I was scared. Thought he was taking me somewhere to finally kill me, but it was a relief, somehow. An ending. I said my goodbyes in my head. One of those goodbyes was for Belle, wasn't it? Maybe the most important one. Belle stepped forward, and then all the way, taking the chair opposite Rachel. But then we stopped, Rachel continued, telling her story, eye to eye across the table. He didn't even turn off the engine. He got out, opened my door, and pulled me out. It was grass. I could feel it. My feet were bare. I remember how grass used to feel. I thought he would tell me to get on my knees. I thought that was it. But I heard the door slam and the car drove away. He left me there. I waited a few minutes, listening, making sure, because I thought I could still hear the engine. Then I took my bag off my head. He was gone. I was alone on a road, in the trees. It's been so long since I've seen trees. It was dark. I was by a river. That's what I could hear. Belle nodded her on, wondering what it was like to forget the sight of trees, the sound of a river, the feel of grass. She couldn't imagine it. I followed the river until I found a street. Then I followed that. No one was around. There were houses, but it must have been so late or so early. I didn't want to wake anyone, to scare them. I kept going until I found a road sign. Lancaster. I was on Route 2 already. I knew if I just followed the highway east, it would take me home. I just wanted to get home. I'm so glad you haven't moved. She laughed a small wet laugh, without a smile, without showing teeth. You walked? Belle asked. All the way from Lancaster? That must have taken... She thought about it. Like 8 hours. Rachel glanced down at her messed up feet in answer. I found these shoes in someone's trash. Too big for me, but they were better than nothing. Did people see you? Belle said. People saw me after the sun came up. Did anyone try to help? One person did, Rachel said, but I wasn't getting in the car of someone I didn't know. I knew the way home, and I got myself here. Frick, Belle exhaled. It wasn't the end of the earth. It wasn't even out of state, but that was a long way to go. A slow, painful reappearance. Not the blink of an eye, like the way she disappeared. Belle watched the stranger across from her, less a stranger than 5 minutes ago, swaying in her chair, the effort of a blink almost knocking her sideways. She must have been so tired, so hungry. Are you hungry? Belle asked her, and it felt strange to ask something so ridiculously normal. Normal didn't belong here, between the two of them. One a fully grown person from the face of a toddler, the other back from the dead. I could make you a sandwich, or... The front door slammed, beyond the living room. Rachel flinched, eyes wide, growing black with adrenaline. Her arms locked against the back of the chair, pushing herself up. It's okay. It's just Dad. Belle got to her feet, too. Rachel flicked those otherworldly eyes back at her, standing tall in a way that must have hurt. She hissed through her teeth, clutching her side. Oh, 'cause she's in pain. Okay. Belle? Charlie called through the house, worried. Belle, where are you? Kitchen! She shouted back, and Rachel winced at her voice, too. What's going on? What are you... Charlie appeared in the doorway, eyes catching on the bloody, muddied footprints on the tile. What did... Dad, Belle said, making him look up. He did. First at Belle, eyes narrowed, face lined around them. Then he spotted the new person standing there, gaze following the footprints over to her. What? The word died in his throat, eyes snapping open. Like they might just keep stretching and stretching, taking his whole face with them. He stared at Rachel, unmoving. His keys dropped to the floor, a loud clatter. No one moved. Marbled chess pieces pointed at each other, standing in their own squares of the black and white tile. Charlie's bottom lip unstuck, falling open. Belle wondered what was going through his head. Had this been the way he dreamed it? No, he said, barely a whisper, backing up against the wall, gasping when it stopped him. This can't be possible. Belle watched her parents watching each other, though she could only see her dad's face, and something wasn't right. His jaw hung open, blinking hard at Rachel like she might disappear between the flicker of his eyelids, taken aback each time she wasn't. This was wrong. He was supposed to be happy, wrap Rachel in his arms and tell her he loved her, his wife, his vindication, standing right there in front of him after all this time. Was he in shock? Because he didn't look happy. He looked scared. How is this possible? Words found him again. But the questions were supposed to come later. He was supposed to hug her first, say he loved her and missed her. This was the wrong order. Hello, Charlie, Rachel said then, and he backed away at the sound of her gravelly voice, flattening against the wall, knocking the clock off. It smashed. The sound echoed down in Belle's gut, where it found the knot, growing and turning, spinning into thorns. This didn't feel right at all. How is this possible? Charlie repeated, more certain now. Like he'd stepped out of the dream, even though none of it had followed the plan. How are you here? I came back. How? Charlie said louder. He let me go. Rachel said quieter. Who's he? Rachel asked, eyes straining at their edges, voice too. The man who took me. Who? I don't know, Rachel said. Charlie's chest rose with his held breath. Who? He said again. She doesn't know who he is, Belle interjected, but Dad didn't even look her way. Like only one of them could exist at one time, and his eyes were on Rachel. Took you how? Charlie asked. Because there were questions, and they were coming first, the mystery pulling hardest. Maybe the I love you and the I missed you would come after. Out of the car, Rachel shifted on her feet, hissing as she did. He followed me, us, to the mall. I didn't know who he was, but I knew he was following me. I went down the small back roads trying to lose him. He overtook, cut me off, made me swerve off the road. Next thing I knew, he'd pull me out of the car. I managed to shut the door, hoping he wouldn't notice Annabelle. Rachel glanced back at Belle, her eyes full with something. Maybe the memory of the last time she'd seen Belle's face. that baby, strapped into the back seat alone while Rachel disappeared right in front of her. He dragged me through the snow to his car, slammed my head against the trunk before pushing me inside. I couldn't get out. He drove away. No one could hear me screaming. Belle hung her head, picturing it, recreating the memory that never was, what she must have seen and forgotten because she was too young to have the words for it. The truth of what happened, and the answer that mattered most to her, out of all of them. Rachel hadn't left her. She'd been taken away. This should feel good, so why didn't it? Why was the room so stale and the knot in her gut pulling tighter and tighter? It wasn't the most important answer to her dad, clearly. There was still too much to know. What about the mall? He asked, peeling away from the wall now. Rachel looked confused. You disappeared twice, Rachel. The camera saw you go in but never leave. Explain that. Why did you and Belle vanish inside the mall before that? How? Did you call the police? Rachel asked Belle. Yeah, she lied again, looking at her dad, wondering if it was actually time to call them. Maybe after her dad's questions and the part that came after that, the part he'd waited all this time for. Rachel? He said, splitting her name into halves. Still scared, still in shock. Was Belle through hers yet? What happened? Rachel staggered, turning to face him. The man was there too. That's when I first noticed him, following us, staring at me. It was the first time I noticed him, but I don't think it was the first time he'd noticed me. I'd been feeling watched for a couple of days, like I was being followed. Something felt wrong, really wrong, and I knew it would be bad if he followed us out to the car. So after we left the coffee house, I made us disappear for a while. We hid. Hid where? Charlie pressed, not soft like the way Ramses did it. I used to work at the mall, Rachel said, answering hard too. The food court was round the corner from the coffee house. When they emptied the trash cans, they always took the bags through this staff-only door. We went that way. It was unlocked. Just a small corridor with trash and large recycling bins. I was scared the man had seen us, and I thought the door to outside would be alarmed. So we hid, inside a recycling bin. The one for glass. The paper one was too full. You hid in a bin with our daughter? Charlie said, like he almost couldn't believe it. At least that was better than scared, closer to normal. Rachel nodded. I wanted to wait long enough, make sure the man didn't find us, that he was really gone. Maybe an hour and a half. Annabelle was sleepy, but then I heard voices and the bin started to move. Someone was wheeling us out, some employees. They didn't know we were in there. I made sure Anna stayed real quiet. They pushed us out the door around a corner, complaining about how much glass there was. I guess the recycling was being collected soon. That's how we left the mall? Belle asked. Inside the bin? The answer to the impossible mystery that it could never live up to. We were inside the bin, Rachel confirmed. After the employees were gone, I opened the lid and we climbed out. We were in the back section, behind the parking lot. I guess there wasn't any cameras there if they never saw us leave. If no one knew what happened. I never thought about that, she said to Charlie. And Rachel had had a long time to think about everything. We walked back to the car a few streets away, and I started to drive home. But the man must have been waiting for us to return. Maybe he spotted my car. Knew it was mine from another time he'd followed me. I don't know. But I knew it was him behind us. That's why I didn't go straight home. I diverted up towards Moose Brook to lose him, but he caught up to us. Rachel seemed lighter, somehow, in the shoulders, now that her story was almost through. The horror almost done. Then maybe Dad could live his dream after all. But Belle wasn't sure it was going to happen anymore. There was something she didn't understand here, between them. Something was thick in the air. Maybe 16 years was just too much time. How could you still love someone across that vast universe of time and space and mystery? Maybe it was too strange now, but they'd regrow into it. Slow and painful. Not the blink of an eye. That was the difference between real life and dreams. That's where you've been? Charlie asked, a dark cloud passing through his eyes. For 16 years? In his basement, Rachel answered. Who is he? Charlie tried again, clenching one fist. Focused on the who, now that he had the how. Who had done all this to Rachel? To him. Who deserved his anger? The man who took his wife and then gave her back. Now Belle focused on the who, too, because she hadn't thought it through before, not all the way. The same nameless man from Rachel's story was a real person, still out there now. Belle checked the window into the backyard. He'd been watching then. Could he be watching now? I didn't know his name, never found out. I could describe what he looks like, but he mostly kept me in the dark. Charlie moved forward a half step, boots crunching the broken glass of the clock. And he let you go? Today? How? How did you get here? Rachel swayed, catching herself onto the chair. holding on to it like a crutch. He came out of the basement, unchained my ankle, put a bag over my head, a tote bag. Didn't say anything. Just let me upstairs through a house, I guess, into the back of a car. How long did you drive for? I don't know. I lost count. Maybe a couple of hours? Did you see any landmarks? Anything you recognized? No. Rachel coughed into her closed fist. There was a bag over my head. But your hands were free? You could have pulled it up. Charlie stepped forward again, glass cracking. I didn't want to do anything that would make him kill me, Rachel countered. He parked up somewhere and cut the engine. He pulled me out and left me there. It was Lancaster. I found the highway and walked all the way home. Annabelle found me. She'd left out the part about Belle running away from her, hiding, retelling it kinder. Wait a second. Something else was different, too. Something had changed between the story she told Belle and the one she told Charlie. Before, Rachel said the man left the engine running when he pulled her out of the car. Left her on that road, remember? But she just told Charlie that the man had turned the engine off first. Yes, the car had definitely changed between versions, shifting through time. Belle was sure of it. She was old enough to remember things like that now. A mistake? Belle narrowed her eyes, studying the back of Rachel's head. Only one version could be true. Rachel must have misspoken, either now or with Belle. Yes, it must have been a mistake, because the only other option was a lie. And why would Rachel lie about something like that? Such a small detail in such a big story. A mistake. Yes, it was just a tiny mistake. But Belle's body didn't believe it. Not all the way. Something felt wrong. Something in the air, in the buzzing in her ears. Could Dad feel it too? Why... Was that why he was backed into the corner again, where the clock used to hang? Fear in the lines of his face, even though he waited 16 years for this moment? Belle and her dad at the outer edges of the kitchen, Rachel in the middle, keeping their eyes on her. Like a thing with teeth that you shouldn't turn your back on. It was just a mistake, right? Or maybe Belle was the problem. Could she have misheard? But then the thought ended there, with a knock at the front door. Loud and hard. Not a knuckle, but a fist. Charlie jumped hardest, his head thudding against the wall. Who's that? He said, scrabbling along the wall to leave the kitchen, hurrying through the living room. Rachel glanced back at her, clean grooves through her filthy face, more tears, though Belle hadn't seen them fall. Belle nodded, gesturing her ahead. Rachel should go first. Rachel shuffled through the living room, her feet drier now, flaking off instead of bleeding. Belle's eyes drew to the front windows, red and blue lights spinning through the glass of the afternoon sun. But she had never called 911. The sound of the front door pulled open. Sorry to disturb you, Charlie, a voice boomed through the house, splintering the buzzy, dreamlike quiet that had taken over it. Real life had come knocking. Belle followed Rachel into the hall, keeping just enough space between them. Her dad blocked most of the door, but Belle could see the face of Dave Winter, chief of police, hovering in the space above his shoulders. Gray face and grayer hair to match, tucked beneath the shiny peaked cap of his uniform. So many times before had the two of them stood like this, the one who knocked and the one who answered. We had a couple of weird calls in. One from your neighbor, Miss Nelson. She said she saw Dave's dark eyes sorted through the backgrounds, flickering from Belle before falling to Rachel and staying there. His mouth went slack, mustache hanging over his teeth. Holy frick, he said. He took off his cap, clutched it to the badge pinned over his heart. It's true. And that is chapter 9. Also, yeah, what is wrong with that lady? Why is she so freaking nosy? Wouldn't she have known if some dude was hanging around their house stalking her? Why is she so freaking nosy? But anyways, yeah, why did she change that small detail about the car engine being on and then not on? But yeah, I do apologize for having the music on during that chapter. I hope it's not too bothersome to have it on and then not on. I'm so curious. I'm so curious what Rachel's mom is going to say now that she's back. Yeah, what is literally everyone gonna say? I don't know. Yes, her sister had a baby and she has no idea. Oh my gosh. Will will his dad say anything, you know? Like, will seeing Rachel again remind him of something? I mean, obviously, the aunt, the uncle. Um, I mean, I can't even imagine what her school experience is gonna be like now, because that's crazy. Like, people were probably still, you know, talking about the Rachel Price case all the time, and then now it's back. It's so crazy. Okay, chapter 10. A piece of paper on the table in front of her, a pen resting diagonally across. Belle's typed up statement. If you've read it all through and you're happy you got everything, you can sign there on the bottom, Dave Winter said, across from the interview room from her, his peaked cap on the table. He ran his hands through his thinning hair too much to wear it. A nervous habit. If he was nervous, how did he think Belle felt? Where is she now? Belle's eye trailed down the page, the story of Rachel Price's return as she'd witnessed it, moment by moment, hours and a whole lifetime ago. Your mom? Dave said, sitting down again. She's in with the feds now, working out if she was kept out of state, whether this is a federal case or not. Attorney General's office will want to speak to her next. Belle nodded. Sign when you're ready. Should she bring it up now? The moment might be slipping away from her, but this man wasn't a friend. He was the one who went after her dad, took him away from her. Belle couldn't trust him. Shouldn't. But they were all in a different world now. Tremors and shakes. Rachel was back, alive, every detail in a changed light. Alliances shifting, new sides drawn across the board. Maybe it had pushed her and the chief of police onto the same one, after hating him all these years. Maybe she didn't need to mention it. Maybe there was another way. She really walked all that way from Lancaster? Belle asked, keeping her voice flat, like it didn't really matter. That would take like 8 hours, right? Dave whistled. Long way to walk. She's a brave woman. I understand why she wouldn't want to get in anyone else's car after what she lived through. Is there proof? Belle pushed a little harder. Proof of what? That she walked all the way from Lancaster, like she said. Dave studied her. Belle blinked, putting up the walls behind her eyes. We haven't had a chance to check the footage yet, to verify. But a couple of police departments had calls in this morning, concerned about a dirty woman walking along the highway. So, yeah, she really walked all that way to get home to you. Have you sent someone to the road where she was left? Belle sat forward. You must be able to find the one. Is there a tote bag there? The bag she had over her head? Rachel says she took it off. It should still be there. If it was, it meant that Rachel was telling the truth, and that the thing with the engine was just that, a mistake. Belle only needed proof, for her and the knot in her gut. Did you find the tote bag? Not yet, Dave said. All the evidence will be processed, though. Don't worry. Her clothes, the crime scene where she was dropped off, when we locate it, tire tracks. We'll get security footage, traffic cameras, anything we can get our hands on, to track the man who took her. Bring him to justice. We'll find him. That's my job. Don't you worry. That wasn't what Belle was worried about. Not yet. She just wanted proof that Rachel was telling the truth, so it would stop nagging at her, feeding the knot. Belle glanced down at her statement, ran her fingers across the dried ink, coming away clean. There's something I should tell you, she said, studying the fingers. What's that? It's small, probably doesn't mean anything. Dave's chair creaked as he shifted his weight. There was something, Belle continued. A slight discrepancy, I guess, in the story told me and the one she told my dad. It's in my statement. I don't know if you noticed. Dave Winter couldn't be relied on for his noticing. He'd never cared to notice that Charlie Price was innocent after all. What was it? He asked, sharpening his tired, dried-out eyes. The engine, she said. Rachel told me that the man left the engine running when he left her on that road. But she later told my dad that he turned the car off first. It's just a small thing, really. She feigned a shrug. Just a mistake, right? Yes, of course. Dave shifted back, like it wasn't worth his notice. Your mom has been through hell. Hell, the worst a person can live through. Think of how exhausted she was, the heightened emotion of seeing her husband and daughter after all this time. Trying to give an explanation in that delirious state. That's not the time for giving accurate statements. Of course she'd make mistakes. Get something wrong. We have the full complete story from her. Now she's had time to rest and process. Don't worry. See? She could believe it. Now someone else had said it. Just a mistake. Didn't mean anything more. I know this is a huge readjustment for you, Dave said, trying to be kind, thinking her silence meant something else. None of us saw this coming. No one. It doesn't feel real yet, but soon this will feel like your new normal. Your family back together, a happy ending. And I know it must be scary. knowing that the man who took your mom, who did this to your family, it's still out there. But we will catch him, I promise. He will come to justice. Was that Dave's motto? Come to justice? I can't read this next line. Oh my gosh. Okay, whatever. Was that oh my gosh, I'm just gonna read the next line and I'm just gonna splice it together. Whatever. Did he use it in bed with his wife? Oh my gosh, I hate this. A huge readjustment for you too, Belle said, about to bite, chewing the head off his kindness. Gosh, you must just feel terrible knowing you were so wrong about my dad. He thought he was a killer, tried to put him behind bars. But he didn't kill Rachel, because no one did. It's almost the worst part, wouldn't you agree? Dave sighed and his head fell, hanging between his shoulders. I'm sorry, Annabelle, truly. A woman was missing, and I was only trying to do my job, to find the truth. I've already spoken to your dad today, after our interview. I apologize for my past. Oh, you said sorry? Belle said, a cheap plastic smile, sharp enough to cut. Well, that totally makes up for the 16 years of hell. Thanks for your service, officer. She bowed. Right, okay, he said, pulling his head back up. Ready to sign? Belle picked up the pen, pressed it to the bottom of the page in a looping scribble, signing her name away. Which was fine, because it was just a tiny mistake. She should stop thinking about it. So, what happens now? She asked, handing the signed statement over. She hesitated as his fingers closed around it, the paper pulling taut before she gave it up and released her grip. Now I take you to the tech team, who are going to do a cheek swab. With your permission, of course. Belle stared at him, the question clear in her eyes. DNA test, he explained. We've taken one from Rachel, too, to prove who she is. She might not be Rachel Price? Belle said. And maybe that was it, the thing that felt wrong. Because if it was really her mom, wouldn't Belle feel... No, of course she is. Dave almost laughed, getting to his feet. That woman is definitely your mom, there's no doubt. No doubt at all. This is just procedure, you know. He headed towards the door. As soon as his back was turned, Belle cradled her hands over the pen, swiping it up her sleeve and standing in one fluid motion. And then, she said. Dave turned, his hand ready on the doorknob. Well, there will be lots going on with our investigative teams, jurisdiction to figure out, and we'll need to start prepping for the press conference. Monday morning is looking most likely for that. Everything changes when the media gets hold of this, so we want to be on top of that. No, I mean what happens right now. Like, later. Like, tonight. Dave narrowed his eyes. Where does she go? Rachel asked. Where does Rachel go? Your mom? His eyes softening, a quiet smile in them, crinkling at the edges. Annabelle. She gets to come home with you. Oh. And that's chapter 10. It's such a good book, but it's almost like such a heavy book, because it's like, dude, like genuinely, like, she has been away from her mom and she clearly has some trauma from this. And, you know, like we said last time, she seems to hold her dad in such a perfect light. And I hope that she comes to term with the fact that her mom was trying to get back to her and gets back to loving her mom, because it wasn't her mom's fault. I hope they bring this guy to justice. I hope they find him. I'm curious to see what the family is going to say. I hope it's not too overwhelming for Rachel. I'm so stressed for so many of these characters, but I'm excited to see what happens next. But yeah, thank you for joining us for the next 5 chapters. I'm really excited for the next ones. Yeah, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate you guys so much. And till the next time, take care.